Right, me again. So I'm going to talk about a challenge that a lot of agencies have. Doing effective traffic incident management is challenging, and one way to get it better at it is to do after-action reviews. Now, states are doing this, and it's difficult because a lot of times you have to look at different data sets and different databases, looking at numbers and things like that. So what we've done is we've built a set of tools and data sets to be able to visualize after-action reviews and help you go through them. And so this is an example of an actual after-action review using these tools. So there's a real incident that happened on October 29th, 2016, early morning on a Saturday on I-270. And so one way that you would go about doing this after-action review is look at the incident information associated with that incident and start there. Visualize it all on a single screen. So that looks a little bit like this. We're combining Traffic Operations Center communications with notifications and responses, lane closures, overhead message signs, and speed readings to give you an idea of an impact of this particular incident. So with respect to the Traffic Operations Center messages that are happening, across the top you have the time. This is when the incident started, this is when it ended, and each one of these dots represents a different piece of communications that happened during that incident. And you can expand that to visualize or to see and read what's been said in those instances. Then you can look at the actual response from incident management groups. Each dot represents when a unit is notified. This dotted line tells you how long it took them to get to the scene, and then the solid line tells you how long they've been on the scene. What's interesting here is at a glance you can tell how big of a response it was, who was causing different types of lane closures, and how long it took for those lanes to get reopened. And then you can combine that with actual speed information and see what impact those lane closures had on the speed in that location. So this is traffic moving in that direction. This is the location of the incident over time, and you can see the red showing you the backups that are happening on Saturday morning for the duration of this particular incident. So again, it's combining all these different data sets to show you a single picture of an incident. You can see the location of that incident and compare it to the historical information to see if this is a particularly bad location or just an outlier. And then you can look at other things. For example, you can look at the bottlenecks that have been forming around that incident, both on parallel and perpendicular routes. So you can see the bottlenecks, the head of the bottleneck. This is the location of an incident. You can also look at a trend map that you saw earlier, different use of the similar technology here where you can compare over time how this roadway incident was impacting this particular corridor. And so the greens and reds will change over time as this plays along, and you can see when the biggest backups happened and when they dissipated. You can look at it again on that congestion scan and compare it to a standard, or at least a previous Saturday in this case on 22nd, and you can see that this congestion happening from this incident that lasted that long, again this is time across the top, is not normal for Saturday in that location. And then you can look at the user delay cost associated with this incident. So yeah, I mentioned user delay cost in context of work zones, but now you can look at it and say, well, what was the actual cost of this incident to the drivers? And so you can see here, you can assume certain average values for passenger and commercial vehicles. You can adjust these values as well, and then calculate delay on the routes that were impacted, both parallel and perpendicular routes, and get a matrix that looks a little bit like this, that shows you normal Saturday is only about $6,000-7,000 in delay on a Saturday, but in this case we had about $77,000 of user delay, so it's significantly worse than normal Saturday, and it's compared to a Friday that just before, which is traditionally a lot more busy. So you can see the impact of that incident. The cool thing about this after-action review approach is that it allows you to quickly analyze what the responses are doing and then look at the operational strategies to improve your traffic incident management response. 45 seconds to spare.